Well, it was kind of appropriate, wasn't it?
Yes.
And if I seem nervous, that just made it worse. So, whichever choice it was to play a song, appreciate that. But it was appropriate, and it kind of did sum up what I wanted to say. And I get off on a tangent or seem nervous, jump around, may even shed a tear. But the good thing about it is, it's tears of joy now, instead of tears of pain and suffering. And why me? For 36 years. So, but it kind of, last week, TJ, what was TJ's last name?
Pardon.
He, and I'm glad I stuck around because he pointed out that we all have a story, and whether it's extreme, you're in jail, you were raped, whatever the case may be, or you were sheltered your whole life, you don't really have a story. Your story is still important. And that kind of, it's about timing. 6 months ago, I couldn't have got there and told my story. I wasn't ready. Linda, certain people just kept reassuring that when it's time, it'll happen. And this time, it might not be the best story, it might be the most extreme, but God put me through that story to bring me here today, and I hope somebody gets something out of it. So, but I would like to thank everybody for coming. Great turnout. Maybe we can double this in a month. Is it a month?
Yes, a month.
So come back out. And if I do pull back from the mic, somebody give me a heads up to step back up, because I will pull away from the mic and I not know I did it. But I guess, starting out telling my story, I kind of, before I get to, where things started to go astray, I would like to point out that the past 447 days has been a journey of recovery, of freedom, of learning who I was, why I went through what I went through, and the church, the people, the family, the people that I looked at, like Leona and Lita, that it could have been worse. And their strength and your prayers, it just all come to head, and hopefully in the future after today, I want you all to keep praying and keep pushing me, because I'm not done with my journey. Thank God. And thank God I made it this far. I could have been dead many times. But he wasn't done with me yet. And I would like to shamelessly plug Doug Halleck's Friday night at 7 o'clock. One of the words that, basically, to make a long story short, that he's been preaching every Friday night for 8 weeks now is transparency. Understanding, why we go through and things we go through, and hopefully people will see through that to get, the purpose of your story and your journey with God. I wanted to tell my story so I could help others. I know there's at least one person out there in this audience today that is going through today what I went through for 20 plus years. Do I always sit back and think, just about every day, why didn't God step in earlier? Yeah, every day. But I hadn't turned it over to him. I didn't trust him enough. And that was just one of my many faults that through him I've overcome. But, you know, so I kind of wanted to just touch on the 12 steps of recovery that, you know, Doug's been going over Friday nights, that really just rings true, you know, how my journey started when I turned it over, finally, like I said, 447 days ago. I just want to read step 1 real quick. So if y'all bear with me, I appreciate it. We admit we are powerless over our addiction and compulsive behaviors, and our life have become unmanageable. And there's a reason why that's step number 1, because until we do, whether it's fear of rejection, alcoholism, sexual abuse, I'll get into a few more, okay? Until we come to God and to tell Him, my life has become unmanageable, please help. I can't do it anymore. And February 1st, 2012, I woke up that morning. Well, I mean, I woke up, I was still drunk. I was shaking. Well, worse than I am today. And just thought, I cannot do this anymore. And it was like God just stepped in and said, okay, I've got you where I've wanted you to be all along, let's go. The rest is history, so to speak. But the beauty part of it, there's more to be written. So, and I hope and pray that you all are along with me for that journey. And it goes on, step 2, step 3, you know, admitting to God that there's no other power above Him. But I want to get to number 4, because that, it doesn't matter how sober you are, it doesn't matter how many times you go to church, it doesn't matter who your family is, who your friends are, until you get to number 4, which is basically make a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. And when I got to number 4, and I tried to quit, this is my 3rd time to quit drinking. First 2 times I thought I could do it on my own, and you see where that got me. But when I got to number 4, it scared me to death. Trying to make a moral inventory of myself. And I even cheated myself when I was writing this down. Like, gosh, well, if I write this down, somebody's going to read it. God might see it. But until I overcame and I wrote it all down, I couldn't move on steps 5 through 12. And it's, like I said before, there's a reason why it's put in order. You know, and that's something, another shameless plug for Doug, that's something that he's really pushing on Friday nights if you ever get a chance to come. And I know I was put there for a reason. Now to let you know though, I was a C student in public speaking, so I tried to revert back to my old days of writing things down and try to order, and I thought in the past, well, you know, I'll just sit here and I'll read it to you, but I wasn't letting the Holy Spirit guide me. And that kind of makes all this irrelevant, because there's no story like a story from the heart. And like I said before, it seemed like the right time. So I hope, once again, you get something, and I hope to maybe one day, there's a lot of you in here that I see that I want to hear your all story. Because talking to you individually, whether it's after church, whether it's Wednesday nights, one, it's allowed me to get my story out a little at a time and to hear you talk and your reactions, and you've got just as important stories as I do, if not more important. And I will be a little selfish, maybe it is for me too. I need to hear your story. because I'm not done healing yet. And, so, and like right then, I do tend to jump off my soapbox a time or two, so, y'all just, that's why I got Linda in the front row. Just be brief and don't apologize for anything, so. But the 12 steps, that's something that's gotten me to this point now. To jump back, as far as storyline goes, and you've heard this many times, and I was brought up and raised in a Christian home. My parents were good people, and they were. But they got divorced at 14, which is a tough time for a teenager. And I harbored that anger and resentment for years. And then when I became a full-blown alcoholic, it didn't make things easier. And but I had to have somebody else to blame. Well, it's not my fault. And if I thought, if it was my fault, whether it was that or anything else, I'd go buy alcohol. That'll make it go away. 20 years, it never did. But I know my father wasn't around as much as I would have liked to. I know my mom worked more than she wanted to. But for years I was like, you should be around for me. I need this, I need that. It wasn't their fault. They were working. They were trying to provide me with things they never could, or didn't have as a kid. But I just kind of took that for granted. And I blamed them for years. But it comes back, 37 years later, they were pretty good people. I've got a sister to tell me that every time these discussions come up. And that's what she's there for. She's and of course with my brother-in-law, have been kind of those rocks that have kept me grounded, along with Linda and my mother the past year and a half. But it's not so bad, is it? I'm up here, I'm able to talk to you all today. How great is that? A lot of people don't have the opportunity. There's 4 people in Boston that won't have that opportunity. And this world may be going to hell in a handbasket, but my God has assured me that I'm going somewhere else if I just trust in Him. Now, is that an easy thing to do? No. Now, going back, around 14 or 15, I was experimenting with drugs and alcohol and drinking. And then, around 15, before I turned 16, someone I trusted, a pastor of a church, mind you, sexually abused me many times. Now, this isn't, I was 4 or 5 years old. 15, 16, 17. Not once, but I felt like it was my fault because I went back for more. It wasn't his fault. Did that help the drinking? No. I'd even started turning over, smoking a lot of weed. Some pills if I could find it. I thought maybe there, 17, 18, I could get stronger, so I turned to steroids so I could get bigger. I could fight off people like that. Have I forgiven him? It took 37 years to do so. And a lot of help from God. I wouldn't, if it would have been up to me, he would probably be dead right now, and I wouldn't be up here talking to you. Can't tell you how many times I wanted to put a gun to his head and pull the trigger, and then put it back to mine because of what he did to me. But God wasn't done with me yet. Hopefully. Did I search why me? Don't look back now. Where were you? Yeah, all the time. It's human nature. That's who we are. But that kind of led into, maybe the reason, a lot of people, say between ages of 18 and 25, get away from the church. They abandon God. They look for quick fixes like alcohol. I thought I would go down to school in Knoxville to get away, because that's where the partying, that's where the football was, everything like that. I was continually running from God. But then where was he? So where's he going to be? Well, it was just a cycle that I fed myself for years. And when it got to 22, 23, alcohol and pot wasn't doing it anymore. Somebody offered me cocaine once. Why not? I said, why not? Several times for about the next 8 months, 10 months. I couldn't really remember. I do remember several times not sleeping for days. Now, all this time, did anybody in this room know that was going on that knew me back then? No, I was covered up pretty good. I kind of learned how to manipulate and, kind of fly under the radar, I guess you could say. And I was doing that to my own family and friends. Gosh, I'm on hard times. Can I borrow $50 to whatever? Chances are that $50 probably went to alcohol or something. Something that I thought I could use to numb the pain. And it did for a few minutes or so. But for the longest time, I was angry and mad, and I felt powerless. But that I want my family friends to know that? No. I was living a good life. I was going to college. I was working. I went to church when I could. I opened the door for my mother. I was. I was putting on a show. Not that I didn't appreciate the people in my life at the time. I was just brought up to the point I didn't know how to show it, and I struggled in relationships, especially with women. I mean, it was women, say between the ages of 18 and 25. It was sexual in nature. So there probably, there's probably even, and once I got married, that showed up from time to time too. But, I did the math several times over the past 447 days, and if I repeat that number a lot, I just wrote it down this morning. It's stuck in my head. God has blessed me with those 447 days, and it wouldn't be without any of you all in your prayers. So you may hear that number again. But I estimated on just alcohol and drugs alone in my lifetime, let's just to say in a 20-year span, approximately $50,000-ish. I mean, not a 6-pack here and there, a 12-pack, and that'll be waiting at the grocery store or convenience store that morning, because they didn't sell beer until after 8. So I was sitting there at 7:55. Going there and I look around like I was buying a candy bar or something, like it was I don't want anybody to see me in here buying alcohol at 8 o'clock in the morning. Another thing that just hit me, how many times I called in sick to a job because I had already started drinking. I'm sick today, and blah, blah, blah. How many jobs have I quit or lost in my lifetime in relevance to drinking? Probably all of them. When you come down and think about it. I had a good job a couple years ago, but I couldn't go to the job telling these people, well, you need to stop drinking, you need to get a job, get back in church, believe in God. And then I would get off work, and on my way home I'd buy a 12-pack, and I'd have 3 of them drank before I got home. That means I was drinking and driving. And I don't know how many hundreds of times I did that. Not a dozen. Not I'm saying, hey, I made it home 200 and some times while I was drunk. But if you don't think God had something to do with that, I mean, brought me home safely each time. And I see that, these young people today, it's kind of like drinking and drugs and snorting and all this other stuff. It's kind of like us, like I was in high school, passing a note to a girl in the class. No big deal. But anyway, and so later on, I kept thinking, and I may leave out a lot of details, I'm sorry, but maybe there'll be a part 2 down the road. I'd be more than happy. But, how am I going to overcome some of this? How am I going to fix this? It wasn't ask God. Okay, I've had enough. Well, I'm going to get married. That'll show everybody. And insert your joke or whatever you want to at that point. But I got married, and I thought, well, this is the way I can fix this because I want to become a good husband. I deserve kids because I want to be a good father because I thought I had to be a better father than mine. Not understanding exactly what goes into being a father in the first place. Well, you'll know when you have kids. I know already. Come on, bring home kids, let's go. I had no clue. And I thought that would fix things. But, I was selfish. I thought it would cover up the pain. I thought it would make me look better to the people around me. See, he's a good person. All that stuff, that didn't really matter. He's a good person because he's married. I still don't understand what I was thinking. Did I love my wife? Yes. Do I still love her? Yes. Was I a raging alcoholic with all these hurts and hang-ups and habits and everything like that during our marriage? You better believe it. Did she leave me because of that? That probably was another one reason. I kind of think, well, you know what, a marriage should be 50-50. And I still believe that. But I didn't hold up my 50%. I drank it away. Then I wanted her to feel sorry for me. And instead of feeling sorry for me or having an adult conversation, well, here's how am I going to fix my husband book? Read that. Heck no, I want to have beer. I hate reading. Beer fun. I didn't. She thought, well, that didn't fix him, so he doesn't love me anymore. Did I know how to tell her, well, that wasn't the case? No, because I wanted to drink. Do I blame her for leaving me? No. I would have left me too. But this whole time, God was there, and I didn't see it. Maybe I didn't want to. But, and when she left, I got all manly and thinking, I can handle this. And then for the next 60, I can't remember, 60 to 80 days, straight with a drink. I really don't care to keep counting anymore, but later that year, though, I thought, well, I'll get rock bottom. What next? I know, I'll get baptized. That'll fix everything. So I got baptized through the support and love of, well, not only family, but a pretty cool and awesome church. Because it wasn't they were concerned with all this. They didn't. A lot of you didn't know this. Only 2 or 3 people even knew half of it. But I could see the look in their eyes when I have that look and feeling in my eyes when Tammy and Jimmy were getting baptized this Sunday, and I almost cried. Along with Ty, I'm proud of you. If I'd have had that courage at that age, but I keep thinking, would this have happened? But would I be here today? So see, you've got a journey in front of you. Hey, and what happens, happens. Don't be afraid to live it. Don't fear regret. But I digress a little bit there, but did getting baptized fix it? Did alcohol and marriage do it before? No. In fact, I think I went home that night and drank. Because now I can handle it on my own. I can quit after 2 or 3. Well, I mean, that's what alcohol is. Alcoholism doesn't know race. It doesn't know color. It doesn't know anger. It just latches on to whoever's willing to invite them in. And come on. And for about 6 more weeks, I battled. Happy one minute, sad the next. Couldn't wait to get off work to go to church. Next day, depression. Gosh, what if they smell alcohol in the churches? Or now, I was just that worried. Self-doubt. It was still there. Until, like I said earlier, 447 days ago, I woke up. And it was, people's like, well, I've talked to God. I heard God. I didn't know how, I guess I didn't know what to listen for. He might have been talking to me this whole time. But that morning, he had to have been, because I quit since. And each day, I'll take that back. Maybe not every day. I've thanked him for that. But now that I have that faith and that courage and the strength that he provided me and will always provide me, I was able to not pick it up, and I've had many opportunities since. Even serving it at work, I'm like, oh man, I remember that blue moon was some good stuff back in the day. And then I thought, wait, whoa. Go on. And now it doesn't bother me anymore. People's like, well, can I drink around you? I don't care. Because you don't love me and I don't love you any less. So I guess, so I guess I've kind of, over those years of growing and finally understanding that I wasn't alone anymore. Not that my family wasn't there every day, but God was just, and I've spent the past year and a half, kind of a lot of nights alone. And it's only so much the dogs will listen to. They're kind of like, give me a treat, leave me alone. But they, and people's like, well, why do your pets, that companionship, you have somebody, I thought, but then God was there the whole time. And once I learned how to talk to Him as well, things have gotten easier. But I'll never be completely, I won't completely let go of a lot of things that happen to me, because now I'm trying to use them as a positive note to help others, to say it doesn't matter what you've been through, God will always be there. It may took me 37 years. But that's better than never. Thank goodness, But, and there's more details and more, things, and, I may have left out, when I think sexual abuse happened, a year later, one of my best friends committed suicide, and I learned out several years later that that was the cause of it. Do I know that for sure? No, but only God knows. Have I told many people that I got out of the Navy because I hurt my foot? I came home, hurt it, get surgery. Or that abuse and his suicide and my other friend getting diagnosed with schizophrenia, and the list goes on. That just, he was homesick, and so I kind of faked that I was an emotional wreck. And they gave me a medical discharge. I don't think anybody knows that. But the foot thing sounded pretty good, and I fed everybody that one for 20 years. And there's many other things, but I don't want to be up here, woe is me, why weren't you here, Lord? Why am I have to go all through that to get here? Instead, I'm like, thank you for putting me through that, because I wouldn't be here if you hadn't. Maybe there's more to it than that, but that's kind of, I think, the road I'm on now. I am so free and so thankful that things have happened the way they've happened. And and that goes back to step 4. In not so many words, that was my moral inventory. I only got some details. Yeah, I don't know what you think. Too bad of me. But that was kind of the gist of it. And I thought the more I drank, the more I went, chased women for certain reasons. Travel to these places. I could care less about money. I would get all these things. I thought it would somehow erase some of that stuff, and it never did. It made me forget about it from time to time. But hopefully, maybe in the near future, I can get up here and we can kind of discuss steps 5 through 12 and how I've completed them. And I want to, go back to number 1. My life is unmanageable. How many people can say that? Everybody? And going back to what TJ said, not every story is important. And it's important to somebody else. So I look forward, like I said, there's several in here, more than probably several. I'd like to hear your story. Not only that help heal you, but it'll help heal me. And maybe that's why I'm up here today. Hope somebody gets something out of it. If you have any questions, I think back to Doug, transparency. You know what I mean? I don't have anything to hide anymore. Because all those hurts and hang-ups and habits that I tried to cover up doesn't compare to what God's done to set me free. So, but, you know, in closing, I want everybody to just pray for those that'll come up here and get baptized here in a few minutes. That it may be the beginning of a journey. What a journey. Mine's not over with yet. And I hold you all to it for prayer. Your encouraging words. You'll be fine when you get up there. And I am. Because I've never had the Holy Spirit like this before. So, you know, if Linda had said that, once you said it 100 times, just let the Holy Spirit speak. So like I said, I could probably go on for another hour or so, but you all get the gist of it. And I want to thank everybody for coming, for listening. But more importantly, and I'm sure Will and everybody else wants to hear that story. That's what makes this 1:30 service so special over the past 2 years, is those stories, those testimonies, those. It could have been worse. Look how happy they are now. I spent 1.5 years going, well, one day. That's today. So, and if you have any questions, please ask. I don't want to ever stop healing, because once I do, I know what I can fall back into, and I look at pictures of that person. I hear stories about that person, of those who haven't heard this story. I don't want to be that person anymore. So again, I thank you all, and I'm really looking forward to the next part of the service, because if anything, it took a little pressure off me today.
Jason Garst, Kate Sampson. Amen.
I just want to add, isn't this an awesome church? I wouldn't be up here today if it wasn't partly for you all. So thank you. I love you all. And I hope to do this again soon.
Amen.